Right. So, very good afternoon, dear Dharma friends. Today we're going to look at few chapters here. The first one we're going to look at Ayasma Sivali. So, the contents for Sivali will be as follows. I just give a quick moment. Look at the contents. All right. Let's go into the introduction of Ayasma Sivali. Now, Sivali was an arahant, widely venerated among Theravada Buddhists. He was the patron saint of travel and is believed to ward off misfortune at home, such as fire or theft. His veneration predates the introduction of Theravada Buddhism into Burma. Sivali is typically depicted standing upright and carrying a walking staff, an alms bowl, and Buddhist prayer beads. So he was born to Queen Supawasa. Sivali is believed to have remained in his mother's womb for 7 years because of past karma. After a week in labor, Sivali's mother gave birth to a precocious boy who could immediately speak. So when the child grew up, the Venerable Sariputta admitted him into the Sangha. He became a bhikkhu and was known as Sivali. He attained arahantship as soon as his head was shaved. Later, he became famous as the bhikkhu who received offerings without any difficulty. So as a recipient of offerings, he was unsurpassed. So that was a quick introduction. Now the birth of Sivali. So at the time of the Buddha Gautama, there reigned a righteous king and queen named Koliya and Supawasa. The queen grew heavy with child, but when the natural time for the birth arrived, she failed to deliver the baby. She grew uneasy as time passed by, with still no signs of the birth, and kept contemplating the unique qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. In the end, she sent her husband to the Buddha to pay obeisance to him on her behalf and to inform him of her condition. So the king then invited the Buddha and his retinue of monks for a meal. After the meal, the Buddha blessed the queen by saying, "May Supawasa, daughter of the Koliya clan, be happy and healthy and give birth to a healthy son." So after the Buddha left, the queen gave birth to a beautiful, healthy son. As a mark of respect for the Buddha, who had eased the queen's heavy burden with his blessings, the Buddha and his retinue were invited to receive alms at the palace for 7 days. So the prince was named Sivali. As from the time of his conception, the people's hardship were alleviated through an abundance of rich crops. So the previous life of Sivali. So one day when Venerable Sariputta was on his alms round, he visited the prince and informed him of the suffering that he and his mother had undergone because of the delayed pregnancy. So Venerable Sariputta then went on to explain to the prince the unwholesome action that his mother and he had performed and the resulting effects of their actions. So this is what happened. So in a previous birth, Sivali had been born as the king of Benares and had waged war on a neighboring kingdom. He had surrounded the kingdom and told the citizens to surrender or fight back. So when they refused to surrender, in collaboration with his consort, his present mother, he had decided to surround the city and hold them hostage until they did so. So the citizens who did not want to fight back or live under the rule of such a king had not surrendered. So as a result, they had suffered greatly without food for a very long period. Many of the sick and the elderly had died, but the arrogant king and his queen had not given in. So many months later, the king had withdrawn his troops and released his hostages, but he had paid dearly for the suffering he had caused. At that, he was reborn in Avicii hell. So the delayed pregnancy and the suffering he and his mother had undergone, resulting from the delay, were the residue effects of his karmic action. So the ordination and immediate arahant attainment of Sivali. So now, after Venerable Sariputta gave a discourse on the noble truth of suffering, he asked the prince if he would like to join the noble order so that he could seek the path to end all suffering. So the prince was overjoyed at this invitation and agreed to join the order and with his mother's permission. So the queen, who was a devoted follower of the Buddha, agreed. She escorted Prince Sivali in procession to the monastery to be ordained. So on the day of ordination, when his hair was shaved, Venerable Sariputta advised Sivali to meditate on the impurities of the body. So Sivali, who was spiritually advanced, resulting from previous wholesome action, focused his mind as instructed. So before the completion of the shaving of his hair, Sivali attained the supreme wisdom of Nibbana. So he was 7 years old then. So what happened? When the first lock of hair was cut, he attained Sotapatthana, right, the fruit of stream entry. And then he attained Sikadagami Phala with the second, and then Anagami Phala on the third, and Arahanta Phala on the final lock of hair. So what was the miracles of Sivali? So the monks soon noticed a strange phenomenon when they were with Sivali. Sivali always seemed to have an abundance of rich, fragrant fruit and other requisites like robes, shelter, and medicine. Monks who were with him also had the opportunity to share in the bounty. So whenever Sivali went, people flocked around to prepare food for him. Sivali was indeed blessed with all the requisites of a monk. And so it was that wherever Sivali traveled, he was well taken care of. He and his retinue of 500 monks were in an uninhabited forest for 7 days, but they were not short of food. The devas make sure that their requirements were met, that all their requirements were met. Similarly, when Sivali was traveling through the desert, his requisites were provided. The Buddha, seeing that Sivali was fulfilling a previous aspiration during his reign, declared that he was foremost among the monks in obtaining requisites. He also instructed monks who were traveling on long, tedious journeys to uninhabited terrain to be accompanied by Sivali, as when Sivali was with them by the side, they would be ensured of their requisites, never short of food, whenever Sivali was around. So in fact, on the occasion when the Buddha and the retinue of 30,000 monks were traveling to visit the monk, Kadira Vaniya Revata, who was Venerable Sariputta's younger brother, they had to cross an uninhabited forest. So Venerable Ananda, fearing that they would not be able to obtain food in the jungle for such a large number of monks, questioned the Buddha about the logistics of the journey. The Buddha assured Venerable Ananda that they had nothing to worry about as Sivali was with them. With Sivali present, there would be no shortage of food because even the devas revealed in donating provisions. So in general, the effects of one wholesome and unwholesome intentional actions are reaped only by the doer, right? However, there are instances, as with Sivali, that others too benefit from unusually strong action of another. This overflow of the results of the effect of a person's strong karma on others is known as Nisanda Phala. That's an overflowing result of karma. So when Vipaka Phala, right? Vipaka means the results, okay? Phala, results of karma, are reaped only by the doer, that is Nisanda Phala, are experienced by others who happen to be with them. Nisanda Phala could be both wholesome and unwholesome in accordance with the deed performed. So for instance, Venerable Sariputta did not obtain alms in one instance, resulting from the unwholesome Nisanda Phala of Losaka. Losaka was also another ascetic, not an ascetic, a lay disciple. Losaka was his name. He has a strong unwholesome deeds. So what this mean was, Sivali has very strong wholesome karma, right? Nisanda pala, overflowing results. So whenever he was with anybody with him, they were never short of food. But Venerable Sariputta one day was with this Losaka, the name, right? This guy, actually, wherever he went, there's a strong unwholesome deeds. So what happened was, Venerable Sariputta went along with Losaka, and because he couldn't get the food, and he asked Losaka to stay here. I'll go and get the alms. And then Venerable Sariputta went, and he got the alms food, and he came back and shared the food with Losaka. So that's a different story. Okay. Now, Sivali past life. Sivali had been born as a poor man, had the opportunity to see the Buddha, Padumuttara. You can refer to Appendix A later. Confer on another monk the honor of being foremost among monks who obtained the requisites. Fascinated by the way everyone desired to provide alms and robes to this monk, Sivali had decided that he too would like to hold a similar position in the future birth. He had then performed many acts of generosity to Buddha Padumuttara and his retinue and made an aspiration. So the Buddha Padumuttara, foreseeing that Sivali's aspiration would be fulfilled, had prophesied that at one time of the Buddha Gautama, he would be foremost among the monks who obtained requisites. So from this point onwards, Sivali has started in earnest to work towards his aspiration. Right? At death, he was reborn in a heavenly realm where he enjoyed many years of heavenly bliss. So this is Sivali's past life. So he aspired to be the most foremost among the monks who obtained requisites. So the next documented birth story took place at the time of Buddha Vipassi. You can refer to Appendix A later in the slides. 91 world cycles called Mahakalpas or aeons before the Buddha Gautama. Sivali was born as a merchant in the city of Bandumati. The city was preparing a great alms giving for the Buddha Vipassi and his retinue of monks. When they realized that they were short of curd and honey, a delicacy that was so often served after the noonday meal, messages were sent all over the city to obtain this required delicacy because there's no longer curd and honey. Right? So everyone was trying to find where to obtain this curd and honey. So unable to obtain the quota required, the kingmen raised the price of the curd and honey from 1 gold to 100 coins, to 1 gold coin to 100 coins. In the meantime, Sivali, who was that merchant who sold curd and honey, was approached and offered 100 gold coins for his merchandise. So he was very surprised at the unusually high offer and asked for whose consumption they were buying the curd. On being told that it was for the Buddha Vipassi and his retinue of monks, so Sivali asked permission to donate his wares to the Buddha. He then renewed his aspiration to be foremost among the monks who received requisites. So the Buddha Vipassi, seeing that Sivali's aspiration would be fulfilled, blessed him by saying, "May your aspiration be fulfilled." Sivali then became a devotee of the Vipassi Buddha and practiced the Dhamma. So there are 2 instances now on the Sivali's past life. This one, as we mentioned just now earlier, and as a merchant. So resulting from his strong aspiration and the meritorious deeds and efforts performed in previous birth, Sivali fulfilled his aspiration to be foremost among the monks who obtained requisite at the time of the Gautama Buddha. So to date, Buddhists venerated Arahant Sivali and often keep a picture or this discourse in their home as a symbol of abundance of food and prosperity. All right. So this short essay was taken from Dr. Tan Leng Huat, who wrote the book titled The Ari Monks and the Introduction of Buddhism. All right. So next, Sivali is worshipped as the most miraculous monk for fortune. So Mahasivali, or they call Shintivali Tera, to many households in Myanmar, particularly in Burma and Thailand as well, is popular because he was the foremost in receiving the most requisite among the Buddha disciples. In most of the household shrines, they have a tiny statue of Shintivali, so family will be enriched with all the necessary requisite of a household. Parents used to tell their children, revere this statue. You will always be blessed with all the household requisites, wealth and riches. Right? So this is still practiced to today, particularly in Burma and Thailand. So like here, a little short note, the Burmese believe that he is still living, that he can be invoked to come by a prayer of special formula, and that his mere invisible presence will bring them prosperity and good luck, good fortune. Therefore, a tiny image of him carrying a staff in one hand and the fan in the other, as if ready for travel, is kept for worship in many Burmese households. So this is a short story of Tera Sivali. You can read this. This is in verse Dhammapada 414. Okay, so it says, let me on this, because in a previous existence, Sivali was the son of a king who lost his kingdom to another king. In trying to regain their kingdom, he had besieged the city on the advice of his mother. As a result, the people in the city were without food or water for 7 days. It was for this evil deed that Sivali was imprisoned in his mother's womb for 7 years. But now Sivali has come to the end of all dukkha. He has realized Nibbana. Then the Buddha spoke in verse as follows, Dhammapada 14. So this is in Pali language, Sivali Tera Vatu. So the translation I read, him I call a Brahmana who, having traversed this dangerous swamp, the swamp referred to the passion, this difficult road or the moral defilements, the ocean of life, the samsara, and the darkness of ignorance, moha, and having crossed the fourfold flood, has reached the other shore. Reaching the other shore means Nibbana, who practices tranquility and insight meditation, samatha and vipassana, meditation, who is free from craving and from doubt, who clings to nothing, no grasping, and remains in perfect peace. So this is in Dhammapada verse 414. So this is the appendix. You can refer to this appendix at your own leisure. This is the 24 Buddhas starting from the time of our Bodhisattva receive a definite prophecy from the Buddha Dipankara. So this is Dipankara, Kundana, Mangala, Sumana, Revata, Sobita, Anumadasi, Paduma, Narada, Padumuttara, Sumedha, Sujata, Piyadasi, Atadasi, Dhammadasi, Cittatta, Tissa Buddha, Pusa Buddha, Vipassi, Sikhi Buddha, Visabu, Kakusanda, Konagamana, and Kasapa Buddha. So you can refer to this. And this is Appendix B, just for your information. What does it mean by Kappa? Endless long periods. Antara Kappa, this is the interim period when the age limit of human being arises from 10. So this one you can read on your own. Okay. And the periods of Buddha as well. The world cycle, also known as the Maha-Buddha Kappa, is divided into 4 full periods. Okay. This is the Appendix C on Sivali Parita. Right. So some they chant the Sivali Parita. So that's in Pali and in English. Right. Appendix B. This is a Sivali Parita, the protective chant. Right. I've not tried this chant, but this is the chant, a mantra, a chant which to be used in its original form. Okay. So this is the translation. All right. So this is the Sivali protective chant in Pali. Just now that was the English translation. All right. So you can get the reference from this website on the Venerable Sivali. Unfortunately, it's not listed. It is not in the Great Disciples of the Buddha textbook. So I have also provided you with some notes on Sivali. Also, with that, I end the lesson on Sivali. And now we're going to move on to Ayasma Rahula. Sorry, I have to move on fast because we have three more other eminent people to cover. So Ayasma Rahula, so a brief contents, you may take a look at it here. And now let's begin with the introduction of Ayasma Rahula. So Rahula was the only son of Prince Siddhartha Gautama, born circa 623 BCE, and his wife, Princess Yasodhara. We all know that. Rahula was born around 594 BCE. On the same day, Prince Siddhartha Gautama, at 29 years of age, renounced the throne by leaving his privileged life to seek peace of mind. So the child was to be raised in a wealthy royal household by his mother and grandparents, while Prince Siddhartha continued his search for enlightenment. So as for Rahula, he grew up without knowing his father, except through the stories told by his mother and grandparents. Okay, so when Rahula was around 7 years of age, the Buddha returned to his hometown in Kapilavatthu. So when Princess Yasodhara had Rahula, asked the Buddha for the throne of the Sakya clan. So the Buddha responded by having Rahula ordained as the first Buddhist novice monk. So the Buddha taught the young novice regularly about truth, self-reflection, and not self, eventually leading to Rahula's enlightenment. So when he was 20 years old, Rahula fully ordained as a monk in Savatthi. So Rahula is known in Buddhist texts for his eagerness for learning and was honored by novice monks and nuns throughout Buddhist history. His account have led to a perspective in Buddhism of seeing children as hindrance to the spiritual life on the one hand, and as people with potential for enlightenment on the other hand. So this is a brief introduction. Let's look at the birth of the Buddha's son. So now, just before Prince Siddhartha renounced the world, his wife, Princess Yasodhara, gave birth to a son. A son has been born to thee, O prince. This was the message that reached Prince Siddhartha when he returned from a drive through the city of Kapilavatthu and a day spent at the park nearby. Right? So it's on the way back and he heard about this good news. According to legend, when the birth was announced to the prince, right, Prince Siddhartha said, "Fetter," a fetter in Pali means Rahula, right? "A fetter has been born, a bondage has been born," said the prince upon hearing the news. And Rahula was the name given later to the firstborn by Prince Siddhartha's father, the king Suddhodana of the Sakya clan. These were indeed unusual words with which to welcome a firstborn. Yeah. So we are told that it was on this very day that Prince Siddhartha met on his way the serene figure of an ascetic, or as some would have said, saw a vision of it. Meaning some suttas says that they saw a vision of it. This encounter showed him a way of life that could help him to find for himself and mankind the deliverance from the inflictions of old age, sickness, and death, which had made such a strong impact on him when he had grasped their full significance not long before during earlier outtakes. Right, so he just found out when he saw this, for significance, old age, sickness, death, right, on the way back. Right? So Buddha leaving his son, his wife and son. So now the sight of a monk was to him as if a door had opened in the golden cage for a bird that longed for freedom. Right? But the birth of his child threatened to close that door for him again. And Prince Siddhartha knew that he had to come to a decision this very day. At the end of those fateful hours, which Prince Siddhartha spent in the palace after his return. So after his return, his child was born, right? His mind was very firmly set on his quest for the deathless, right? No matter what, he's very set for it. The time for the great renunciation had come. It was towards midnight that he went to the chambers of his wife, the Princess Yasodhara, to have a last silent glance at her and his son. But the mother's arm and hand enclosed protectively Rahula's little head. And without having seen his child's face, Prince Siddhartha went into the night on his white horse Kantaka with Channa, his faithful servant, and started on a road that, after 6 years, led him to his goal of full enlightenment, Buddhahood. Right? So at that night, right, the sons, the wife gave birth. That's the time that he left for the great renunciation. So then, after many years, Rahula's going forth. When Rahula was around 7 years of age, Buddha returned to his home city in Kapilavatthu at the request of King Suddhodana. So that is after his enlightenment. Right? So the Buddha traveled back to his hometown of Kapilavatthu to teach the Dharma to his son. So the Pali tradition claims that Princess Yasodhara only took Rahula to see his father 7 days after the Buddha's arrival. Okay, she told Rahula that since his father had renounced the palace life, and as he was the next royal prince in line, he should ask his father for his inheritance of crown and treasure. So this would be for his future sake when his grandfather, King Suddhodana, would no longer rule the kingdom. So it was not yet a full year after his enlightenment, right, that the Buddha visited his paternal home in Kapilavatthu. So during his stay in Kapilavatthu, while one day he was seated in the palace, Princess Yasodhara spoke to Rahula. This is Thai father, Rahula. Go and ask him for Thai heritage. So little Rahula went and stood before the enlightened one, who was still seated, and exclaimed, right, how pleasant is thy shadow, O ascetic. So the master rose from his seat, and when he had left the palace, Rahula followed and, told by his father, spoke to him, give me your heritage, O ascetic. So of course, Buddha no longer had gold or property, but he had something far more precious, the Dhamma. So the Buddha handed him over to Venerable Sariputta and had been ordained him as a novice. But later, the Buddha's father, King Suddhodana, and Princess Yasodhara complained that the boy had been taken away without their permissions, right? As a result of which, the Buddha made it a rule and no further Saminara ordinations were given without the parents' consent. So this is how the rule started. So obviously when the Buddha took the son away without the permission, without them knowing, the king already lost the son, right, many years ago, and Princess Yasodhara, the husband. So this is, it couldn't be. And they said that this is not how it works. So obviously now they have a rule. Thus, little Rahula became a novice monk, Saminara, at the age of 7. So now before any young novice monk, they have to ask permission. Up to today, they still, practice this. Insight teachings to Venerable Rahula. So as if to make up for the 7 years he had without the father, the Buddha took great interest in Rahula's moral and spiritual education, teaching him many times himself, and making the Venerable Sariputta his preceptor and Mahamoggallana his teacher. So Rahula responded to this excellent tutelage by being an eager and attentive student. And it is said that each morning as he awoke, he would take a handful of sand and say, may I have today as many words of counsel from my teacher as there are here grains of sands. Right? So there are a lot of grains of sand in my hand. So may I have a lot of teaching from them. So as a result of this enthusiasm, the Buddha said to his son that of all his disciples, he was the most anxious for training. So the master took constant interest in Rahula's development and wisely guided him throughout the years, until Rahula, in his 21st year, had attained arahantship, 20 or 21st year, had attained arahantship and needed guidance no longer. So the following exhortations presented here are the greater and the most important part of those handed down to us in the Sutta Pitaka of the Pali Canon, right? So these are the sutta that is most important with regards to Rahula Sutta. So the first one is Ambala Tika Rahula Vada Sutta, right? So this in translation called Advice to Rahula, given in Ambala Tika Pak, right? So Advice to Rahula. This is in MN 61, Majjhima Nikaya, right? Number 61. So the next one is Maha Rahula Vada Sutta, right? Maha is greater, discourse as advice to Rahula in MN 62, and Chula Rahula Vada Sutta, lesser, Chula is lesser, discourse as advice to Rahula in MN 147, and verses from the Sutta Nipata called Rahula Sutta. So let's look at one by one briefly, right? Not in detail. Ambala Tika Rahula Vada Sutta, right? So this is MN 61. So you can refer to Appendix A, Part 2, later part in the slides here. So briefly, in this sutta, the first of the texts translated here was spoken by the Buddha when Rahula was 7 years old. Okay, the discourse has two main subjects. The Buddha taught Rahula truthfulness and mindfulness, which are indeed cornerstones for building a character and for developing the faculties of mind of a young one. So an education based on the fostering of these two qualities, truthfulness and mindfulness, will indeed have secured the foundations. It is a counsel, however, which in general, adults are as much in need of as a young child. For impressing these teachings deeply on Rahula's mind, the Buddha made ample use of similes in that discourse. So according to the commentators, in the same early period of Rahula's novitiate, the master taught and explained to him the 10 boys' question. Kumara Panha. Kumara is boy, Panha is questions. Kumara Panha, which begins with, what is one? All being subsist by nutrients. They are also called the novice question or Saminara Panha, and were originally devised for the 7-year-old Arahant. Sapaka Saminara. So the text of these questions can be found in Kudaka, Pata, the minor readings of the Sutta Pitaka. So you may refer to Appendix A, Part 1, on the Saminara Panha, later in these slides. So the next sutta called the Rahula Vada Sutta, this greater discourse and advice to Rahula, MN 62. So that was the first, and this is the second text, as spoken by the Buddha to Rahula when he was 18 years old. And now he has grown up, he's 18 years old. So this sutta is chiefly contains instructions on meditation. Those given by the Buddha himself pertain foremost to insight meditation, vipassana bhavana, namely to the not-self nature, anatta, of the 5 categories of clinging, panchupadana khandha, and of the 4 materials elements, right? So the Buddha taught Rahula that all the 5 aggregates, the khandhas, the 5 aggregates, should be regarded as non-self, anatta, and not only form, rupa. When Rahula sat under the tree meditating, Venerable Sariputta approached him and suggested that he should develop meditation on contemplation of breathing, anapanasati. So later in the evening, Rahula asked the Buddha how he can do this. So then the Buddha described how it's done by regarding all the 5 elements, right? They are the earth, water, air, fire, air, and space. One should not allow sensory pleasant and unpleasant contacts to lay hold of one's minds, just as how the elements remain impassive, whatever may be thrown upon them. Right? So remember all the 5 khandhas, yeah? One should grow in loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, in equanimity, contemplation of the body's corruption, perception of the impermanent nature of things, and in the mindfulness which comes from the ordered breathing, anapanasati. That's how the Buddha taught Rahula the meditation on the elements, on mindfulness of breathing, and other topics. So now this is the Chula Rahula Vada Sutta, Lesser Discourse and Advice to Rahula, MN147. Now this one is in his 21st year. In the 21st year, before he had completed a full year after his higher ordination, the Venerable Rahula attained to the highest goal of a recluse life, to sainthood, arahant. This discourse after the enunciation of the 3rd text in our collection, right? The shorter discourse of exhortation, the Chula Rahula Vada Sutta. This discourse applies to the 3 characteristics of all conditioned existence, the impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Right? So this is the anicca, dukkha, anatta, to the entire realm of the 6-fold sense perception and all mental processing relating to it. So as you can see, the gradual sutta from 7 years old to 18 years old, and this sutta is in the 21st year of Rahula. So it was at this moment of sainthood attained that the enlightened one, the incomparable teacher of men, the master of skillful means of guiding them, gave to his son the full paternal heritage for which Rahula had asked. So what is the heritage? The heritage, the most precious legacy indeed that a father can bestow. When the Buddha preached the discourse on the heirs of the Dhamma, Dhamma Dayada Sutta MN3, in which he distinguished between the heirs of worldliness and the heirs of truth. This may well have invoked in him the memories of little Rahula request for his heritage. So finally, the Buddha has given his heritage. What is his heritage? The heirs to the truth, right? So he became an arahant. So now the verses of the Sutta Nipata called Rahula Sutta. So later you can refer to Appendix B. So on the 4th text, the verses from the Sutta Nipata called Rahula Sutta circumscribe in brief the life of a monk and the thoughts and the ideals that should be foremost in a monk's mind. So these verses are, as it were, the monk's version of a Maha Mangala Sutta, blessings. The concluding sentence expressly states that these were frequently repeated by the master for Rahula's benefit. Since they contain terse means brief references to meditation, they may have originated in the period when our 2nd text, remember our 2nd text, Maha Rahula Vada Sutta MN62 was spoken. Right? The 2nd text when he was 18 years old, that is Rahula's 18 year or after. Okay. Now, the same may hold good for the text in Rahula Samyutta of the Samyutta Nikaya. Those 22 short discourses are of instructions for insight meditation, vipassana, and are more or less variants of our 3rd text. They are, as the commentary says, meant to promote those qualities that bring deliverance to maturity, vimutti pachaniya dhamma, spoken of at the beginning of the Chula Rahula Vada Sutta, MN147. To the same category belongs to the Rahula Sutta of the Anggutta Nikaya, AN 4.117, which deals with the 4 material elements in a similar way as our 2nd text, MN62. So in essence, these are all relating to the suttas. So in the Therigatha, the verses of the elders, there are stanzas spoken by Venerable Rahula himself, right, in verses 295 to 298, and in the questions of Milinda. Milinda, as you know, the King Milinda Maha, right? These are ascribed to him. Some more verses which are not found elsewhere, only in the question of Milinda. These verses are the only utterance recorded in the Venerable Rahula. There is also no other account in Pali literature indicating that he was active as a teacher or a preacher or in an other way. Meaning to say that Venerable Rahula, he didn't teach like Venerable Sariputta or Venerable Moggallana. So he wasn't a teacher or a preacher. Okay, it is possible that this reticence means a reserve, as a reserve personality, right? On the part, right? Because he's reserved on the part of Venerable Rahula was intentional. Intentional because being the master's son, he did not wish to come into any prominence, right? It's just because my father is the Buddha, right? So he does not want to be significant importance there. So he's been very reserved. So you can refer to Appendix C on verse 295 to 298. So now the Pali text give examples of Rahula's strictness in monastic discipline. Example, after there was a rule to establish that no novice could sleep in the same room as a fully ordained monk. So Venerable Rahula was said to have slept in an outdoor toilet, so to speak. So the Buddha heard some noises. I fast forward. The Buddha asked, "Who is there?" Rahula inside. "It is I, Rahula." The Buddha said, "I see." So this story is often interpreted as an example of the Buddha's equanimity, right? No matter who you are or what your circumstances are, everyone gets equal treatment. This is one of the many lessons that Venerable Rahula learned from his father. In this way, he became famous for his good behavior. So the end of life of Venerable Rahula. So according to the commentary, after the Venerable Mahapajapati Gotami, the queen's mother, attained the final passing away, Parinibbana, and before Venerable Sariputta had attained Parinibbana also, Venerable Rahula attained Parinibbana first. Okay, so Venerable, I believe he attained Parinibbana at a very young age. Venerable Rahula passed away from the realm of the 33 gods, Tawatimsa. Why? It might be he had many companions there and they had invited him to join them. So Venerable Rahula was a very special person as he did not attain Parinibbana in the human world. Maybe his relics were still in Tawatimsa Deva realm, right? As what the text has, as the commentary has said, right? So he actually passed on in Tawatimsa. So what was his legacy? Samanera Rahula was cultured, exceptionally obedient, and well-disciplined. He was very eager to accept instruction from his superiors. He was distinguished for his high standard of discipline. The acceptance of Rahula in the monastic order as a child set a precedent, which later developed into a widespread Buddhist tradition of educating children in monasteries. The numerous teaching given to Rahula, remember all the suttas from the age of 7, 18, 21 years, have left behind teaching materials which could be used for teaching children of different ages and were sophisticated for the time period with regard to the age-specific material. Theravada tradition further built on this genre with Pali manuals of religious teachings for novices. Religion scholar, Professor Vanessa Sasson, notes that although Prince Siddhartha initially abandons his son, he comes back for him and offers a spiritual heritage to him as opposed to a material one. This heritage is given from a viewpoint of trust in the potential of the child Rahula, presuming that the Buddhist path can also be accessed by children. So who is Vanessa, Professor Vanessa? She is a professor and writer of religious studies at Mariana Police College. Her work focuses on women in religion. She converted her research into a novel, and the outcome, the book, she wrote a book on Princess Yasodhara. Okay. Now, writing about the Buddha's teaching methods used for Rahula, right? The Buddha's teaching method used for Rahula, the psychologist Dr. Kishani Townsend, right, argues Buddha's use of Socratic questioning, poetic devices, and role modeling are still relevant to developing virtue in today's children. That is how Buddha's teachings method to children. Right? Dr. Kisani Townsend has over 16 years of counseling experience. Her psychological practice draws on the latest evidence-based treatments, including the cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, or the acceptance commitment therapy, ACT, and the famous mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, and trauma-informed practices. Right? So these two are the contemporary scholars about the teachings of the Buddha, especially for children. So now this is what Appendix A1 is all about, the Saminara Pandha novice question. So for the initiate monk, knowledge of principles by counting to 10. Note, this sutta is a short method to remember Buddhist path and its evolutionary ideas and principle. Right, so the yellow ones are in Pali. So let's look at the one in English. So remember, it said novice one. What is one? What is said to be one? All beings subsist on food. What is said to be two? Mind and matter. So two items. What is said to be three? Three kinds of feeling. Remember, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. What is said to be four? The Four Noble Truths. What is said to be five? Five aggregates subject to grasping. What is said to be six? Six internal sense bases. You remember the eye, the ear, nose, and so on. What is said to be seven? Seven factors of enlightenment. What is said to be eight? The Noble Eightfold Path. What is said to be nine? Nine abodes of beings. What is said to be 10? He who is endowed with 10 attributes is called an Arahant. So this is a very short, very good training for novices or even for, little children, young children. So this is for them to remember. So this is Appendix 2, the Ambalatika Rahula Sutta. I want to read this story. It's very interesting. So this, again, the Buddha consider children, even Buddha knows, children are fond of telling lies. They are likely to say, I see when they do not see, or I do not see when they do see. Therefore, I shall extort Rahula in advance. So according to this Mahaprajana Mita, this one is in the Mahayana commentary, because I found this in the T means the Tasho. This is in the Mahayanese commentary. Rahula was 7 years old at that time of his visit. So at that time, there were many devout Brahmins, householder, etc., who approached Rahula's place and asked him, Venerable, where does the Blessed One stay at present? Right? Remember, right? Buddha knows that children are fond of lying. So they asked this Rahula, where is the Buddha now staying? Now, if the Buddha, the Blessed One, was in Bamboo Grove, Rahula would in turn say, Rahula knows he's in Bamboo Grove, but he will tell them he is in Mount Vulture Peak. If the Buddha was on Mount Vulture Peak, he would purposely say he is in Bamboo Grove. Now, if people come and ask Rahula, is the Blessed One in? He would deceive them by saying he is not in. Now, if the Buddha was not in, people ask Rahula, is the Blessed One in? He would deceive them again to say the Buddha is in. Right? So that's how naughty Rahula was that time. So now, note, Pali commentary, as opposed to Mahayana commentary, Pali commentary does not report that Rahula has deceived the visitors. However, it does record that the Buddha being motivated to deliver the following discourse based on the reflection of mention. So I thought it's interesting for you to find out what does it mean that when Buddha say fond of telling lies and so on. So I thought this is quite interesting story to share with you, and how it's being depicted, how naughty is was Rahula. So in the this sutta, after the Buddha came out of the retreat, he then went to Ambalataka to see Venerable Rahula. So when Rahula saw the Buddha coming over, he quickly spread out a seat and placed water for washing the Buddha's feet. So the Buddha sat on the seat prepared by Rahula and washed his feet. So Rahula bowed and sat at one side. Then then the Buddha leaving a little with the pot, right? And this is how he will teach the son. Rahula, do you see little water left in the pot? Yes, sir. That's how little of the ascetic nature is left in those who are not ashamed to tell deliberate lie. Then the Buddha, tossing away what little water has left in the pot, said to Rahula, do you see this little bit of water that has been tossed away? Yes, sir. That's how the ascetic nature is tossed away in those who are not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. Then the Buddha, turning the pot upside down, and said to Rahula, do you see how this pot is turned upside down? Yes, sir. That's how the ascetic nature is turned upside down in those who are not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. Then the Buddha, turning the pot turning the pot right side up, and said to Rahula, now do you see how this pot is vacant and hollow? Yes, sir. That's how vacant and hollow the ascetic nature in those who are not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. And that's how the Buddha, teach, young Rahula, right? So then the Buddha asked Rahula if he knows what a mirror is for, and Rahula replied, for reflection, sir. This is in MN 61. Then the Buddha responds, in the same way, your thoughts, words, and deeds must be done with constant reflection. Reflect in this way, Rahula. Is this thought, word, or deed skillful? Will it lead to harm for myself or others, or will it lead to release? Will this thought, word, or deed bring more suffering for myself or others, or will it have a peaceful result? If upon reflecting your thoughts, words, and deeds will have peaceful results, then this is fit for you and fit for a person developing understanding. Rahula, all those who purify their minds to continual reflection, being mindfulness, will do so in just this way. Rahula, you should train yourself in just this way through continual mindfulness of your thoughts, words, and deeds. Okay, so in summary, the Buddha teaches his son the importance of refraining from intentionally telling false speech and the need for reflection prior to, during, and after doing any deeds of body, speech, and mind, using the simile of the water left in the water vessel and reflection from the mirror. The Buddha told him that should a body, action, speech, or mental thought bring harm to self, others, or both, then one should abstain from doing so. But if a body, action, speech, or mental thought brings benefit to self, others, or both, then one should continue to cultivate it. So that's how the teaching of the Buddha. Now, this one is the Rahula Sutta in verses. So the Buddha says, from living together constantly, the teacher you don't scorn, torchbearer to humanity, is he by you revered. Rahula said, from living together constantly, the teacher I scorn not, torchbearer to humanity, is by me revered. Then the Buddha said, having let go of the five sense desire and forms that are dear, delighting mind, with faith, renounce the household life, be one who dukkha ends. keep company with noble friends, dwell in a lonely practice place, secluded, having little noise, with food be moderate, robes as well as food from alms, with shelter, also remedies for these things, no craving form. So turn out to the world again. Okay. Now, this one is the verses of Venerable Rahula himself. Okay, so now I would like to read this one. Rahula said, I was fortunate to be Prince Siddhartha's son. Now I am fortunate to be the disciple son of the Supreme Buddha. I have been fortunate to be a son in these two ways. Therefore, wise noble ones call me Lucky Rahula. As a disciple son of the Supreme Buddha, I gained the eye of Dhamma. My taints are removed completely. Right? Rebirth is ended. I became an enlightened one. I am entitled to offerings and homage from people. I achieved the triple knowledge and attained Nibbana, freedom from death. But most people are blinded by sensual pleasures. They are enveloped in the net of defilements. They are covered with the cloak of craving. They are bound to samsara by Mara, the relative of the lazy people, like a fish bound by the fisherman's net. I abandoned those sensual pleasures. I cut off Mara's bonds. I uprooted craving from its roots. I have become cool and extinguished. Cool and extinguished means he have entered Nibbana, right? He have attained Nibbana. Nibbana means extinguished, cool. These verses are said by Arahant Rahula. So, where I got sources from, these are all the references. And this is a very good book, a good article from Bhikkhu Analayo, the Buddha and his son, on the mindfulness, Kodaka, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So now I've completed a Sivali, Ayasma Sivali, and Venerable Rahula. So since there's no poll question today, I would just like to stop here if there's any question before I move on to Jivaka and Anathapindata. If not, now it's already 3:30, so let me continue. Right? Dr. Jivaka, Komara Bacha. Right. Contents of Dr. Jivaka. As usual, I always start with a short introduction. Jivaka, wrong spelling here. Jivaka was a renowned physician in ancient India and a contemporary of the Buddha. Jivaka's story can be found in the text of monastic disciple, right, in the Vinaya, of which the oldest stratum can be dated back to the first half of the 4th century BCE. This stratum includes rules and regulations about medicine, also relating the life and work of Jivaka, and can be found in various textual traditions. The 8th chapter of the Mahavagga of the Vinaya Pitaka details the life of Jivaka. He was the best disciple of the physician Atriya, right, who possessed an unparalleled ability to read the pulse of a patient and was known for his ability to perform complex operations. So the physician Atriya was also a great master in the herbal department of the ancient Sila Academy. Today, Sila is an important archaeological site in Punjab, Pakistan. So the early life of Jivaka, right? Prince Abhaya, the son of King Bimbisara, was riding through the city when he saw a flock of crows circling and cawing loudly around a small bundle. So he stopped his carriage, he investigated the sound and found a newborn baby boy who had been left to die amongst the garbage on the roadside. So upon inquiry, he learned that a courtesan had discarded her illegitimate son, whom she felt was a burden, and had left him to die. He was the son of this courtesan named Salawati, okay, or a courtesan of Rajagaha. So Prince Abhaya found this newborn alive in an unbelievable harsh circumstances and called him Jivaka, meaning life, for his intense will to live. Right? So he decided to adopt the baby as his own. So the baby was named Jivaka Kumara Bacha. Jivaka meaning life because of his will to live, and Kumara Bacha, which means adopted by a prince. Okay. So the Prince Abaya brought him up as his own son, and he received a royal education with other princes, but was found to be exceptionally intelligent and exceptionally sensitive. Once, as a teenager, he was told of how he was not a royal birth. When he heard about his origin and his will to live, he decided that he would one day grow up to be a preserver of life, physician. He felt that he had no real heritage or family, as he was only the adopted son of the prince. This made him feel ashamed of himself and also greatly indebted to Prince Abaya. So he found a vocation where he could independently make money and repay his adopted father for his upbringing. So Jivaka decided to go to the University of Taxila to become a physician. Right, so this is a picture, a reconstruction of the ancient University of Taxila in Gandhara, right? And this is how the ruins of the ancient Taxila University located in Punjab, Pakistan looks like now. So at that time, Taxila was very famous. So the Taxila, University of Ancient Taxila, who studied there, the professors, there are many professors, very a famous one like Panini, the great 5th century Indian grammarian. Then Chanaka, if you have heard Chanaka, he's the most influential prime minister of the founder of the Mauryan Empire, Chandragupta Maurya, right? So this is the grandfather of King Ashoka. Then Kumaralatta, according to the 3rd century Chinese Buddhist monk, and traveler Xuanzang was also studied there, right? So Kumaralatta, the founder of Sautrantika school, was also an excellent teacher at Taxila, okay? And he attracted students as far as China. So some of the famous students, right, they studied there. They are close followers of Buddha, including King Pasenadi of Kosala, Bandula, a commander of Pasenadi army, Angulimala, you know that, right? And then Jivaka, the doctor himself, Charaka, an Indian co-father of medicine, and Chandragupta Maurya, of course. So these are the ancient sites. So Jivaka as a physician in Taxila. So there are stories of how he got entry into the university, right? So in university, you have to do a passing a test of deductive reasoning and of his excellence at the university. So under the great Guru Atriya Purnavasu, right, Jivaka studied and trained for 7 years, proving himself to be worthy of his great Guru. So one story concerning his wisdom during his time in medical school is that his master had asked him to find a plant that was inappropriate for medical use, not suitable. Jivaka walked through the forest but returned to Taxila empty-handed. He went to Guru Atriya and told him that he could not find anything. So his teacher was happy and said that Jivaka's learning was complete. Right? So afterward, Jivaka would go on to heal countless dying and afflicted people, regardless of their social, economic status or spiritual affiliation. He was the best disciple of the physician Atriya, who possessed an unparalleled ability to read the pulse of a patient and was known for his ability to perform complex operation. So this is a little description of Atriya Rishi or Atriya Purnavasu. Right? In great Hindu sages, they call rishis. Okay. So sage Atriya was a renowned scholar of Ayurveda, and the school of early Ayurveda was founded based on his leadership. Now, Jivaka, the healer. So now he studied in Taxila, So obviously he got graduated, so now he became a healer. Jivaka decided to go back to Rajagaha to his adopted father. So on the way, he stopped to rest in a city called Saketa, right? You heard of Saketa before, you remember Visakha, right? So modern Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh. He soon heard that the young daughter of the city's wealthiest nobleman, in Pali, wealthiest nobleman called Seti, was sick from severe headaches for 7 years. Jivaka approached the nobleman and offered to cure his daughter. The maiden, however, was not confident by the very young man who claimed to have cured her when older, well-known physician had failed. Jivaka said he would not ask for any fee if his treatment could not cure her. However, he successfully treated her, though, and was rewarded generously. After his return to Rajagaha, he gave his first earning to Prince Abaya. But Prince Abaya refused this, but instead, had Jivaka work in the palace. So he quickly became wealthy because of his service to influential patients, including King Bimbisara. Although he received good payments from his wealthy customers, the text states he also treated poor patients for free. Prince Abaya then told him that during his absence, he found out the full story of his origin. His mother, Salawati, was the sought-after courtesan of the kings and nobility. She, wanting to retain her freedom, discarded the baby whom she felt would be a burden to her. Prince Abaya had unknowingly adopted his own child, as he had loved his son dearly, even prior to knowing that he was in fact his own child. So apparently, right, Prince Abaya was involved with Salawati, so he didn't know that the abandoned son was his real son, right? So in fact was his own child. But then Prince Abaya built a palace to serve as Jivaka's residence and provided him with many servants. So when King Bimbisara suffered from an anal fistula, he called upon the help of Jivaka. After curing the king, Jivaka has showered with wealth, more money gifted to him with the royal mango grove. So King Bimbisara gave him, a big, large royal mango grove and made him the royal physician. So Jivaka's reputation as a great physician grew quickly. He was the physician of kings, noblemen, and as a personal physician to the Buddha. Right? Remember, King Bimbisara was a close follower of the Buddha then, so he was also a close follower of the Buddha. The text mentioned that he operated and successfully removed 2 tumors from the brain of a rich merchant who was a good friend of King Bimbisara. He also operated successfully to remove a blockage in the intestine of a nobleman, but the name was not mentioned. In one instance, when the Buddha was afflicted with stomach problems, Jivaka prepared the medicine and applying it on the blue lotus flower, offered to the Buddha. Then Jivaka then asked the Buddha to inhale the essence emanating from the flower. So the medicine which Jivaka had prepared with devotion and presented so beautifully cured the Buddha's stomach ailment. The Buddha did not make him a monk. Rather, he accepted him as a lay disciple because the Buddha wanted him to remain free to tend to sick people. Now, Bhikkhu Devadatta was by tradition a Buddhist monk. So we all know that he was a cousin and brother-in-law of the Buddha. The accounts of his life vary greatly, but he is generally seen as an evil and divisive figure in Buddhism, who led a breakaway group in the earliest days of the religion. So he caused the first Sikhism in the Sangha. He then tried to kill the Buddha himself by throwing a rock at him from a high while the Buddha was walking on the slope of a mountain. A splinter of the rock got embedded in the Buddha's foot and had been hurt by the rival Buddha Devadatta. It was extricated using a small knife called kaja by the physician Jivaka. So that was how he actually cured treated the Buddha's foot. Now, caring for the health of others, nursing the sick. For over 2,000 years, the Buddhist monastic order has been closely involved with the treatment of the sick. Buddhist monks were developing treatments of many kinds of medical conditions and played a significant role in the development of traditional Indian medicine, Ayurveda. So in this Kuchi Vakara Watu, right, it says, the Buddha said, "You, O monks, have neither a father nor a mother who could nurse you. If, O monks, you do not nurse one another, who then will nurse you? Whoever, O monks, would nurse me, he should nurse the sick." Right? So effects on Buddhism. Now, Jivaka became the healer of the Buddha's physical body as the Buddha. The enlightened one was the healing the soul of humanity. So Jivaka as a healer of the physical body, but the Buddha was the healing the soul of humanity. Jivaka treated all the monks, the bhikkhus, and even the followers of Mahavira Jain. So remember the Nikata, Mahavira, the Jain leader, who was the spiritual guru of Prince Abhaya. He did not make a lot of positive changes in the life of the bhikkhus, although he remained a lay follower of the Buddha. But Jivaka was also instrumental in suggesting that the Buddha allowed monks to accept ready-made robes. Until this point, the Buddha had worn pangsu kula robes, which means robes sewn from rags taken from cemeteries or cremation grounds, which was true to the monastic spirit, yet harmful to the monks' health. So Jivaka looked at these men and understood that the true causes of their illnesses come from wearing unhygienic cloth collected from cemeteries. It was probably out of health concern that Jivaka offered this suggestion, but he became effectively the first layman who offered complete robes to monks. Right? So this is well self-explanatory, said. So at one point, Jivaka was offered a piece of cloth from King Pajota. Jivaka donated his cloth to the Buddha and requested the Buddha to allow the fraternity of monks to wear robes donated by lay people. Upon accepting the cloth, the Buddha gladdened Jivaka through a teaching. Immediately after having delivered the sermon, the Buddha addressed the gathering. "Monks, I permit the wearing of robes offered by the laity. He who likes may wear pangsukula robes. He who likes may accept lay robes. Whether you are pleased with one or the other sort of robes, I approved it." But before that, they were not allowed to accept any robes. So because Jivaka, this is one of the most significant, I would say, contribution to Buddhism, right? So now the Buddha has made a point to say that if any monks, you can either wear Pamsukula robes if you wish, or you may accept the lay robes. So apart from this role as a healer, Jivaka also developed an interest in the Buddha's teaching. In the Jivaka Sutta, the physician Jivaka inquired about how to be a good lay devotee. So he also specifically asked why the Buddha ate meat and asked the controversial question of the karmic effects of eating meat. So you can read this in the Jivaka Sutta in MN 55. Now, the Buddha's teaching is known as the middle path. He did not go to the extreme or command anyone to do anything. While he gave permission for his monks to be vegetarians, if they so wished, he did not state this to be a discipline rule, as he felt that doing so would cause unnecessary hardship to his monks. So now the Buddhists should refrain from eating meat that has been seen right? Buddhists should refrain from eating meat that has been seen, heard, or suspected to have been killed for them. Buddhists should also refrain from killing, instigating others to kill, or from a livelihood that involves breeding of animals for killing. So now the Buddha continued by saying that a monk cannot be choosy about the food he is consuming, but should receive and eat food dispassionately, just to sustain his health. The Buddha explained that the eating of meat was not in itself an unwholesome act. So eating meat is in itself not an unwholesome act, act, if the following conditions were met. The first one, adita, means one has not seen the slaughtering of the animal. So if you have seen a live animal being slaughtered, you don't eat that meat, right? Because you have already witnessed the killing. Next one, asutta. One has heard that it was killed for his or her consumption. So if you heard somebody say, I'm going to get a live chicken, a livestock, or live, no, right? That also heard. Remember all the senses, the eye, the ear, right? So this is also an unwholesome act. The third one, aparisam kita. There should be no doubt at all in the mind of the person consuming the meat that the animal was not killed for the purpose of his or her consumption, right? So these are the three, main conditions that eating meat that has been seen, heard, or suspected to have been killed for them. So in the Jivaka Sutta, okay, so this is the same thing that I mentioned here. It said which meat should not be eaten. Okay, Jivaka say, I say that there are 3 instances in which meat should not be eaten when it is seen, heard, or suspected that the living being has been slaughtered for the bhikkhu. I say that meat should not be eaten in these 3 instances. I say that there are 3 instances which meat may be eaten when it is not seen, not heard, and not suspected that the living being has been slaughtered for the bhikkhu. I say that meat may be eaten in these 3 instances. Okay. So the Pali text relate that Jivaka later attained the state of Sotapanna, right? One who has entered the first stage of the path preceding enlightenment. So having accomplished Sotapanna, he started to visit the Buddha twice a week. Since he had to travel quite far from that often, so he decided to donate the mango grove called Jivaka Rama Vihara close to Rajagaha. Right? This is a modern, means modern in Rajgir, and built a monastery there. So the monastery was used by monks during the yearly rains retreat. So it was also at Jivaka's request that the Buddhas established that monks should sweep the compound of the monastery and attend to other duties that would exercise the body, not just eat, meditate, sit down, meditate, but they need to do some exercise, but not physical exercise, but sweeping. Jivaka, seeing the benefit of exercise for a healthy life, requested this and other mild duties to be performed by monks to ensure the health. So with foresight, love, and compassion, the devoted Jivaka took care of the physical health of the Buddha and the Sangha. So this is the Jivaka Rama, okay? This is the remains, okay? So this is the location on the outside of Rajgir in Nalanda district in the Indian state of Bihar. Just below is the Jihakutta Hill, right? Kutta Hill was originally a mango orchard, which was donated to the Sangha by the famous royal Dr. Jivaka, who was in the service of King Bimbisara. So Jivaka built the monastery on this location, donated to the Sangha, and then the Buddha has been treated once in the monastery, and then after being injured by Bhikkhu Devadatta. Right? So this is what the remains. in the Tibetan tradition, just for your information, has another version of Jivaka conversion. Jivaka pride that he thought he was the best physician in the world obstructed him from accepting the Buddha. The Buddha sent Jivaka to legendary places to find ingredients. And finally, Jivaka discovered there is still a lot he did not know yet about medicine. And it turned out that the Buddha knew a lot more than him. So when Jivaka accepted the Buddha as the supreme of physicians, not he himself, the Buddha as the supreme of physicians, he was more receptive to the Buddha's teachings. And the Buddha started teaching him. So Jivaka took upon himself the 5 moral precepts. Okay. So at the end period of the Buddha's ministry, King Bimbisara was imprisoned by his son Ajatasattu, who usurped the throne, attempting to starve his own father. Ajatasattu heard that his mother tried to prevent Bimbisara from starving. Eventually, he was responsible for the death of his father. Ajatasattu developed a tumor after his father's death and asked Jivaka to heal it. Eventually, Jivaka managed to bring him to see the Buddha to repent his misdeed. According to the Buddhist tradition, in the Samanapala Sutta, the fruits of the contemplative life in Digha Nikaya 2, deals with his first meeting with the Buddha, where he realized his mistake with his association to Bhikkhu Devadatta and planned to killing his own father. According to the same text, the same sutta, during the meeting, King Ajatasattu took protection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. He was mentioned more than once in several other sutta as an example of the strong devotee of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. So he erected a vast stupa on the bones and ashes of the Buddha after the funeral, and King Ajatasattu was present in the first Buddhist council at the Satapatthana cave at Rajagaha and was also the royal patron of the council. So it was Jivaka who actually introduced, King Ajatasattu to the Buddha. Right? So another significant contribution of Dr. Jivaka. So now the king patricide and its karmic consequences. So you can read all about this sutta there about King Ajatasattu. This is also some brief history about him. Now let's look at Jivaka legacy. In the Buddhist text, the Buddha declared Jivaka foremost among lay people in being beloved by people. And the Pali text named him as example of someone with unwavering faith in Buddhism. Jivaka was that widely known for his healing skills that he could not respond to all the people that want his help. Since Jivaka gave priority to the Buddhist monastic community, some people needing medical help sought ordination as monks to get it, right? In this sense that a lot of people wanted to see this great physician, but he cannot help. So instead, these people joined the order of monks just because they wanted to be treated. So now Jivaka became aware of this and recommended the Buddhas to screen people for diseases before ordination, before ordaining, which the Buddha eventually did for 5 diseases. So and then Jivaka was and in for many Buddhist and traditional healers, an icon and a source of inspiration. So the figure of Jivaka is presented in ancient texts as evidence for the superiority of Buddhism in both the realm of the spiritual as well as the medical. So in the spiritual world as well as the medical. So in the early Buddhist texts, which were translated in Chinese, Jivaka was defined and described in similar terminology as used for Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. He came to be called the Medicine King, a term used for several legendary Chinese physicians. There is evidence that during the Tang dynasty from the 7th to the 10th century, Jivaka was worshipped along the Silk Road as a patron deity of children's health. Today, Jivaka is seen as by Indians as the patriarch of traditional healing and is regarded by Thai people as the creator of traditional Thai massage and medicine using Ayurvedic. Thai people still venerate him to ask for assistance in healing ailments, and he plays a central role in nearly all ceremony that is part of traditional Thai medicine. Right? So as you can see from here, Jivaka is enshrined in the National Temple of Thailand in Wat Prakau. Okay, so this relief depicting Jivaka treating the Buddha's foot below after the unsuccessful murder attempt by the monk Devadatta, right, depicted holding a boulder above the right. Right, so this is all historical facts. Right, coming to an end. In the Sanskrit textual tradition, Jivaka is the ninth of the 16 Arahants. Right, Sanskrit means the Mahayana. Disciples that was entrusted to protect the Buddha's teaching until the arising of the next Buddha. He is therefore described in Buddhist texts as still being alive on a mountain peak called Gandhamadana between India and Sri Lanka. The monastery Jivaka presented to the Buddhist community came to be known as the Jivakarama Vihara, was identified by the Chinese pilgrim Xuanzang, right, with a monastery in Rajgir. So it is real. Xuanzang came to know about this. The remains were discovered, as you saw just now, and excavated in the period from 1803 to 1857. So the monastery is described by archaeologists as one of the earliest monasteries of India, dating from the Buddha's time. Now, let's take a look at this Gandhamada. This Gandhamada mountain ranges are a rich source of diversity for medical plants. The Botanical Survey of India has reported the existence of 220 plant species of medicinal value. Local people, however, claim that there are more than 500 species of medicinal plants in this area. There are more than 100 traditional healthcare and practitioners live in and around the Gandhamadan Hills. These practitioners provide medical facilities to about 50,000 tribal people. There are 2 Ayurvedic colleges and hospitals on both sides of Gandhamadan, one in Bagan district and the other in Balangir. So this is to today the traditional herbal treatments. Right? So this is a statue of Jivaka in Kok Kwai, Uttar Thani in Thailand. This is the Wat Krau. All right, so references of Jivaka can be available in all these websites. So now we go on to the last of the today's session, Anathapindata. Contents of Anathapindata. Okay. Once again, introduction. So in Buddhist belief, when a fully enlightened Buddha appears in the world, he always had a set of chief disciples that fulfill different roles. On top of the pair of chief Arahant disciples such as Gautama Buddha, chief male disciple, that's Sariputta and Mahamoggallana, and his chief female disciple Khema and Uppalavana, all Buddhas have a set of chief patrons as well. Gautama Buddha's chief male patron was Anathapindata, with his chief female patron being Visakha. According to the Pali canon, in the time of Padumuttara Buddha, a householder was inspired when Padumuttara Buddha spoke of his own lay disciple who was foremost in generosity. The householder then resolved in that lifetime to become the disciple foremost in generosity of a future Buddha himself, and did many good deeds in hopes of becoming one. His wish was fulfilled in this lifetime when he was reborn as Anathapindata and became the chief patron of Gautama Buddha. Anathapindata was a wealthy merchant and a banker, and believed to have been the wealthiest merchant in Savatthi, right, the capital city of Kosala in the time of Gautama Buddha. So he's considered to have been the chief male patron of the Buddha. He donated the Jetavana retreat center to the Buddha and his Sangha. The temple at Jetavana is considered one of the 2 most important temples in the time of the historic Buddha. the other being Migarama Tupasada, meaning the Migaramata Palace in Sawati. So we spoke about this in Visakha last week. So Anathapindata continued to generously support the Buddha and his monastic community throughout his life and become known as the Buddha's greatest patron and benefactor and female counterpart Visakha. So as chief patron, he fed large numbers of Buddha's monks daily and regularly maintained and supplied the Jetavana monastery. So he sent his servants to uphold the Jetavana monastery, as well as serve as one of the Buddha's primary aides in dealing with the general public. Right? Just as Visakha, he got any problems with the lay people, so he would send Anathapindata to deal with the general public. So the Buddhas frequently turned to one of his two chief patrons whenever there needed to be something arranged with the lay community. So he is known as the male lay disciple of the Buddha who was foremost in generosity. He is frequently referred as Anathapindika Seti. Seti meaning wealthy person or millionaire. And is sometimes referred to Anandapindika to distinguish him from Chula Anandapindika, which is another disciple of the Buddha. Maha is greater, Chula is lesser. So the early life and family of Sudatta, right? Sudatta was his birth name. Anathapindika was his nickname. Anathapindika was born with the given name Sudatta and was the son of the wealthy merchant named Sumana. When Sudatta grew up, he married a woman named Punalakana, the sister of a wealthy merchant in Rajagaha. Sudatta was known for his generosity even before his conversion to Buddhism and was known to the public by the nickname Anathapindika, or one who gives alms to the unprotected, due to his love for giving. So this is what the meaning of Anathapindika, one who gives alms to the unprotected. His wife Punalakana also lived up to her name, which means one with the mark of marriage. And she took care of the servants and of the monks who came for midday, the midday meal. She too was devoted to the Dhamma, as was her brother, who had been one of the Buddha's first lay disciples. Okay, he had one son, Kala, and three daughters, Mahasubada, Chula Subada, and Sumana. Kala was married to Sujata, a sister of the famous lay devotee of Visakha. According to the Pali Canon, in the time of Padumuttara Buddha, a householder was inspired when Padumuttara Buddha spoke of his own lay disciple who was foremost in generosity. So the householder then resolved in that lifetime to become a disciple foremost in generosity of a future Buddha himself, and did many good deeds in hopes of becoming one. So his wish was fulfilled in his lifetime when he, Sudatta, when he was reborn as Anathapindika and became the chief patron of Gautama Buddha. Now, Sudatta meeting the Buddha. So one day, Anathapindika, the richest man in Savatthi, was traveling on business in neighboring state of Magadha and come to Rajagaha. Right? So from Savatthi, he went over to Rajagaha. As usual, his way led him to his brother-in-law, to whom he was born by a warm friendship. So as he entered the house, he found to his astonishment that the household hardly noticed him. Previously, when he came to the house, he was accustomed to his brother-in-law full attention and to the other residents of the house receiving him. But now he saw that they were also busy, eagerly making elaborate preparation. So he asked his preoccupied brother-in-law what this meant. So Anathapindika said, "Is it a wedding? A major sacrifice? A visit from the king?" So the brother-in-law said, "No, tomorrow the order of monks with the enlightened one are coming here, for I have invited them." "Did you say the enlightened one?" "Indeed, tomorrow the enlightened one is coming." "Did you say the enlightened one?" So he asked the second time and the third time. So moved by the kinds of thoughts and feelings, so Anathapindika lay down to sleep. Yet he awoke 3 times and that night, thinking it was already daytime. So anxious to see the Buddha. So strong was the anticipation of the next day meeting. So finally, He arose even before dawn and went to the city, to the monastery. In the darkness, however, fear overcame him. Doubts arose within him, and all his worldly instinct told him to turn back. Right? We went into the forest, very dark. He said, I better turn back. But an invincible spirit named Sivaka urged him to continue on. He says, go forward, householder, go forward, householder. Going forward is better for you, not turning back. And so through the rest of the night, he walked resolutely on. After a while, he saw in the misty dawn a figure walking silently to and fro in a walking meditation. So Anathapindata stopped. Then the figure called him in an indescribably harmonious voice, come, Subhadra. Anathapindata started at being addressed, startled, at being addressed in this manner, for no one there knew him by his original name. Overwhelmed by the gravity of this encounter, so he fell to the feet of the Blessed One and asked him in a stammering voice about his well-being and say, did the Blessed One sleep well? Right? So with the answer to this conventional question, very normal question, the Buddha gave Anathapindata a glimpse of his real stature. In the Sutta in SN 10.8, always indeed he sleeps well. So he referred to the Buddha, always indeed, right? He sleeps well. The Brahman who is fully quenched, who does not cling to sensual pleasures, cool at heart, without acquisitions, having cut off all attachments, having removed care from the heart, the peaceful one indeed sleeps well, for he has attained peace of mind. So this is how the Buddha, replied Anathapindata. Okay. So then the Blessed One, leading Anathapindata step by step, spoke to him of giving, virtue, of the heavens, of the perils, the vanity, and the defiling nature of the sensual pleasures. Remember the step by step, talk of the benefits of renunciation. So when he saw that Anathapindata's mind was ready, heart was ready, pliable, unobstructed, uplifted, and serene, then he explained to him the teaching that is unique to the enlightened ones, the noble truth of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path, right? The Four Noble Truths. With that, the thus free, stainless eye of truth, the Dhammachakkhu, opened for Anathapindata. So whatever has the nature of arising, all that has the nature of cessation. So Anathapindata had understood the truth of the Dhamma, had overcome all doubts, and was without any wavering, certain in his mind. He was now self-independent in the master dispensation. Right? So he now then invited the Blessed One for a meal the next day at the home of his brother-in-law, and the master accepted. After the meal, right, fast forward, he asked the Enlightened One if he might build a monastery for the order in the hometown of Savatthi. Right? The Buddha answered. Right? So remember, he was from Savatthi to Rajagaha. So he wanted to build a monastery in Savatthi. The Enlightened One loved peaceful places. Then Anathapindata said, I understand, oh master, I understand. Meaning to say, we should not be in the urban area, in the city area, or in the town area, very busy. Anathapindata overjoyed with the acceptance of his offer. So now building the Jetavana monastery. So when Anathapindata returned to Savatthi, he encouraged the people along the route to receive the Buddha in a respectful way. In this way, he prepared the way along the Rajagaha Savatthi road, right, for the Buddha's journey. So he paved the nice road, along the way. So once he arrived, I remember in the Bhikkhuni order, the distance between the Savatthi and Rajagaha, somewhere around about 300 over miles, yeah? Okay. Once he arrived in Savatthi, he immediately searched for an appropriate location for the monastery. It had to be neither too close to the city nor too far. The site should not be one that would be overrun by people, which means to say that not too crowded with people in the daytime, nor should there be noise at night. It should be suitable for access by the devoted visitors, by the Sangha community, and also fit for those who bent on seclusion. At last, in the chain of hills surrounding the city, he found a beautiful forest glade, an open area, ideal for the purpose. But the area belonged to Prince Jeta. Right? Prince Jeta is the son of King Pasenadi. So now Ananda Bindika visited the Prince Jeta, right, in his palace and asked if the forest was for sale. The prince answered that he would not sell it even for the appropriate price of 18 million gold coins. Prince said, not even 18 million gold coins, I sell to you. But Ananda Bindika said, I will give you that much right now, replied Ananda Bindika. But they were not able to come to terms, right, and went to an arbitrator, right? So remember, Prince said, I will not even sell to you, but the Ananda Bindika, I will give it to you. So they have to go to an arbitrator. So the arbitrator ruled that the price should amount to as many gold pieces, fast forward, so they come to a terms, as could be laid next to each other on the land. On this basis, an agreement of sale was drawn up. You see this picture depicting how they laid the gold coins, right, covering the forest glade. Okay, Ananda Pindika brought many carts filled with gold coins and had the coins spread out upon the site. Finally, only a small part, you see this picture here, only one small patch of the ground at the entrance remained bare. So he gave instruction, more gold to be brought in. But Prince Jeta announced, because by that time Prince know already that what's the purpose of Ananda Pindika's doing. So Prince Jeta announced that he was prepared to build a mighty gate and tower on that spot at his own expense. Right? So the prince said, I will do it. Excuse me. So this imposing bastion and gate protected the monastery from the outside world, shielding it from the noises of the road and emphasizing the dividing line between the sacred and the mundane. So then Ananda Pindika then spent another 18 million for buildings and furnishing. So he already gave 18 million to cover the forest glade. Now he spent another 18 million for the buildings and furnishing. He built individual cells, a meeting hall, a dining hall, a storeroom, walkways, latrines, right, like canteens, wells, lotus ponds for bathing, as well as large surrounding wall. Thus, the forest glade was transformed into a monastery and stood apart as a religious sanctuary. So this is captured in Vinaya. To honor both parties in the establishment, to honor both parties, the text always referred to two names. One, Jeta Grove, and Ananda Pindika Monastery. Jeta follow Prince Jeta's name, Jeta's Grove, and Ananda Pindika Monastery. Right? It all refers to the same. When all preparations have been completed, now the Buddha and the monks came to Savatthi to take up the residence at the new monastery. On arrival, Ananda Pindika invited them for a meal, after which he asked the Buddha, how should I proceed with the offerings of this Jetavana? You may dedicate it to the Sangha of the four quarters, present and future. And so he did. Then the Buddha expressed his appreciation to him in the following verses. Okay, we'll go next slide later. So the alms meal for the monks was followed by this sumptuous celebration for the laity, right, with gifts for everyone. This cost another 18 million. So now altogether, Ananda Pindika spent 54 million on the headquarters for the order. Therefore, the Buddha declared him to be the foremost patron of the Sangha. So this is captured in AN 1.14. So that's how you know why he became the foremost, patron of lay disciples. So now this is where the and continue the verses. And so Ananda Pindika did. So this is how he said, they ward off cold and heat and beasts of pride from there. and creeping things and knots and rains in the wet season. When the dreaded hot wind arises, there is warded off. To meditate and obtain insight is a shelter and at ease, a dwelling place that is praised by the awakened as chief gift to an order. Therefore, a wise man looking to his own will should have dwelling places built so that learned ones can stay therein. Through these food and drink, remnant and lodgings, he should give to the upright with mind purified. Then this would teach him Dhamma, dispelling every ill. He, knowing the Dhamma, here attains Nibbana, cankerless. This is translated by I.B. Honor. So, sorry, this is a bit poetic here, right? So you can enjoy reading it later. Now, homage to the Buddha in his absence. Every time the Buddha stayed in Savatthi, so Anathapindata visited him. At other times, however, he felt bereft, right? He felt like something is missing, without a tangible support for worship. Therefore, one day, he told Venerable Ananda of his wish to build a shrine. When Venerable Ananda reported this to the Buddha, he answered that there are 3 types of shrines: memorials, monuments, and holy places. The first type was based on a corporeal relic, bodily relic, which after the death of an enlightened one was stored in the stupa, right? Second was based on an object which had a connection with the enlightened one and had been used by him, for example, an alms bowl. The third was a symbol without a material object. Now, of these 3 visible supports of worship, obviously the first one was not yet possible as long as the Buddha was still living. Now, then the third possibility would not be appropriate for those who could not content themselves with a mere picture of a symbol. So there remained only the second one, right? Like an alms bowl or something, right? So now this is what happened. So the Bodhi tree in Uruvela seemed to be the best object to serve as a memorial to the Blessed One. So under it, the enlightened one had found the door to the deathless, right? Because under it means the Buddha, right, got enlightened under the Bodhi tree. So under it, the enlightened one had found the door to the deathless, and he had provided him with shelter during the first week after the enlightenment. So it was decided to plant a small shoot of this tree in Savatthi. So it's the most appropriate thing to do, right? The Bodhi tree. So the Venerable Moggallana, right, fast forward with his psychic power, he brought a cutting from the tree, which was to be planted at the gate of the Jetavana in the presence of the court. So it seems that Venerable Moggallana brought the cutting of the tree from the original Bodhi tree and came to Savatthi, right? And the most distinguished one. So you look at here, Venerable Ananda says, "Sir, while you are away on pilgrimage, the great monastery of Jetavana is unprotected." Unprotected means, it's like, oh, the Buddha is not here. So the people felt a little bit lacking, and the people have no place where they can show their reverence. Shall I plant a seed of the great bo tree before the gateway of the Jetavana? And the Buddha said, by all means so do, Ananda, and that shall be as if were an abiding place for me, right? So the elder told this to Anathapindata and Visakha and the king. At that time, they were all together there. Then at the gateway of Jetavana, he cleared out the pit for the bo tree to stand in and said to the chief elder Moggallana, right? So this you can read also in Jataka story 479. So now, Venerable Ananda presented the sapling to the king. Remember, Moggallana brought the sapling of the tree, cutting of the tree, and then presented to Venerable Ananda, and Venerable Ananda presented to the king for the ceremonial planting. But King Pasenadi replied with princely humility that he served in this life merely as a steward for the office of the king. So it would be more appropriate that someone with a closer relationship to the teaching consecrate the tree. So he presented the shoot to Anathapindata, who was standing next to him. Right? Such humility. So the elder Ananda informed the king and all the rest and call it by the name of the Bo Festival. And this tree, having been planted by Venerable Ananda, was known by the name of Ananda Bo tree, which is still standing, right? This Ananda Bo tree in Sawati. The tree grew and became an object of devotion for all the pious laity. At the request of Venerable Ananda, the enlightened one spent one night sitting under the tree in order to bestow on it another more distinguished consecration. Right? So when the tree, he seated under there. So Anathapindata, so obviously when the tree grew, not when he planted a small tree. Anathapindata often sought out the tree and used the memories associated with it and the spiritual upliftment which he received there to focus his thoughts on the Blessed One. Right? So this is the tree. This is the original Ananda tree. So you can imagine that the Buddha sat under the tree of this original tree, Ananda Bo tree. Anathapindata and his friends. So once Anathapindata had attained stream entry, he was unswervingly committed to observing the precepts, right? So to purify his mind to the endeavor to influence, right, those around him towards good. So he lived in purity amongst like-minded people. Not only his immediate family, but also his employees and servants strove to practice generosity, to keep the 5 precepts, and to observe the holy days. In Jataka story 382, his home became a center of kindness and goodwill, and his attitude spread to his environment, to his friends and associates. So most of Anathapindata's friends were all religious people. But one thing, although some of them were wandering ascetics, one day he suggested that a large group of his friends come to listen to the Buddha. They went willingly and were so stimulated by the enlightened one's teaching that they professed themselves to be his followers. From then on, they regularly visited the monastery in Sawati, remember, gave donation and observed the precept and the holy days. But as soon as the Buddha left Sawati, they deserted the teaching and once again followed other ascetics with whom they had daily contact. But several months later, when the Buddha had returned to Sawati, Anathapindata again brought his friends to see him. Now this time, the Buddha stimulated these merchants, right, to think along different lines and made their minds so receptive for hearing what is particular to the Buddhas, the teaching of the 4 Noble Truths, that they are all attained stream entry. In this way, Anathapindata's attainment also became a blessing for all his friends in Jataka 1. So now the discourses of the Blessed One. Of the 45 rain seasons, I remember in the Buddha's ministry, 45 rainy seasons of his life as a teacher, the Buddha spent 19 in Sawati in Anathapindata monastery and the most in Jetavana. Wherever he spent the 3 or 4 months of the rainy seasons there, he would usually visit the Blessed One twice a day. Often just to see him, but frequently to hear a discourse. Many of the occasions when the Buddha gave instructions to Anathapindata, it has been recorded in Pali Canon. So all the discourses that is given in Jetavana, in Anathapindata, it was all recorded in the Pali Canon. The discourses which contain in Anguttara Nikaya range from the simplest message to the most profound. A few are mentioned here, beginning with the basic words of advice to the laity. For example, in this Gihisa Misi Sutta, a lay person practice, AN 4.60, right? A lay disciple served the mendicant Sangha with robes, alms, food, lodging, and medicines. You may read more from this book in these pages. But this is just a brief summary. So it says in this sutta, householder, a noble disciple who possesses four qualities is practicing the way proper to the lay person, a way that brings to the attainment of fame and leads to heaven. What for? Serve the Sangha of bhikkhus with robes. Alms food. Serve the Sangha of bhikkhus with robes, with alms food, with lodging, and with medicine. The four requisites. In the Pata Kama Sutta, fitting deeds. Pata Kama fitting deeds, AN 4.61. Four things that are desirable but hard to get, and how to get them through deeds of substance. So, householder, these four things that are likable, desirable, and agreement are hard to get in the world. What for? May wealth come to me by legitimate means. May fame come to me together with my family and teachers. May I live long, keeping alive for a long time. When my body breaks up after death, may I be reborn in a good place, a heavenly realm. These next four things led to the getting of these four things. No, these are four things. But how to get these four things? These are the four. What for? Accomplishment in, you need to have these four things. Faith. You must have faith in the Buddha, have ethics, practice the precept, generosity, and wisdom. You practice concentrations and meditation. All these four will lead you to get these four things. Live, you will have wealth, the fame, live long, and reborn in heavenly world. So this is what the sutta is all about. So in the Anyana Sutta, debtless AN 4.62, the happiness of ownership, using wealth, debtlessness, and blamelessness. Householder, these four kinds of happiness can be earned by a lay person who enjoys sensual pleasures depending on time and occasion. What for? The happiness of ownership, using wealth, debtlessness, and blamelessness. So this is in the Anyana Sutta, debtless. In the Adiya Sutta, getting rich, AN 4.5.41, legitimate purposes of wealth. Householder, there are 5 reasons to get rich. What 5? Nothing wrong with getting rich, the Buddha said. Firstly, with his legitimate wealth, earned by his own efforts and initiative, legitimate, own efforts built up by his own hands, gathered by his sweat and brow, a noble disciple makes himself happy and pleased, keeping himself properly happy. He makes his parents, children, partners, bond servants, workers, and staff happy. He makes his friends and colleagues happy. He protects himself against losses such as fire, water, kings, bandits, or unloved heirs, and keeps himself safe. He keeps 5 spirit offerings. Who are the 5 spirit offerings? To relatives, guests, ancestors, kings, and deities. He establishes an uplifting religious donation for ascetics and Brahmins. Those who avoid intoxication and negligence are settled in patience and gentleness, and who tame, calm, and extinguish themselves, that conducive to heaven ripens in happiness and leads to heaven. Lastly, Ita Sutta, likable, AN 5.43. You don't get good things by praying for them, but by how you live. Householder, these 5 things are likable, desirable, and agreeable, are hard to get in the world. What 5? A noble disciple who wants to live long ought not to pray, right? Or hope for it. You don't pray or you hope for it or pine for it. But by practicing that way, you got to practice. Then only they gain long life as a god or a human being, because then you reborn in the heavenly world or in a human world. That leads to beauty, that leads to happiness, that leads to fame, and that leads to heaven. Right? So as you can see, all the sutta relating to the lay people in the Ananda in this sutta. So what was his legacy? Anathapindata is considered to be one of the most exemplary adherents of the Buddhist virtue of generosity, Not only did he regularly provide alms and necessity to the monks at Jetavana, he hosted hundreds of monks at his residence for meal. So the Buddha stated that for one who dedicated to perfecting the virtue of generosity, nothing in the world is capable of stopping him from giving. And because it's becoming a habitual thing, Ananda Pindika love for giving, become a habit, combined with some misfortune. Even when he was at his lowest, at one point, reduced to wealth. Fast forward from the sutta, he was reduced to wealth at one time. Reduced to from a wealthy merchant to a poverty. Even in times of hardship, he was described as continuing his patronage of Buddhism, although with much more modest gift. So even when he was at the lowest, not wealthy, he still give alms. He's still, very modest, not so wealthy. So his wealth was eventually restored to him. However, due to the power of the merit of his generosity. Okay. Ananda Pindika patronage had a significant impact on Buddhism. His hometown in Savatthi was considered to be the center of Buddhism at that time, being the location of a significant number of Buddha's sermons. Remember, 19 sermons was held in Ananda Pindika Monastery. On top of that, the Buddha spent 19 rainy seasons, more than any other temple during his lifetime. So after the building of the Megara Mata, the Pasada Monastery in Savatthi by Visakha, the Buddha would alternate between Ananda Pindika Monastery and Visakha Monastery, wherever he was staying in Savatthi. So his generosity even inspired King Pasenadi, another follower of the Buddha, to himself start generous patronage. So when King Pasenadi saw that Ananda Pindika was such a generous patron, he himself also wanted to be there. Death of Ananda Pindika. Coming to an end. The householder Ananda Pindika becomes sick at the third time with strong pains, which was getting worse and not easing. Again, he asked Sariputta and Ananda for assistance. When Venerable Sariputta saw him, he knew that he was nearing death and gave him a discourse on Ananda Pindika Vada Sutta, advice to Ananda Pindika in MN 143. In summary, Venerable Ananda Pindika gives him a stirring discourse on non-attachment. At the end of the discourse, Ananda Pindika mentioned that he has not heard of this teaching. This is Abhidhamma teaching to the monastery, the monastic. Venerable Sariputta said, such talk on Dhamma householder is not given to lay people, clothed in white. Right? Such talk of the Dhamma is given to those who have gone forth to the monastic. Then Ananda Pindika said, well then, Venerable Sariputta, let such talk on the Dhamma be given to lay people clothed in white. There are clansmen with little dust in the eyes who are wasting away through not hearing such talk of the Dhamma. There will be those who understand the Dhamma. So remember, Venerable Sariputta, Buddha talked about Abhidhamma in Tawatimsa. He came down and then he shared with Venerable Sariputta. That's how he talked about the Abhidhamma. Right? So this Abhidhamma was shared in the monastic. So Ananda Pindika said, no, let such talk. That's how today the Abhidhamma was also shared to the lay people. So then, after giving the householder Ananda Pindika this advice, Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Ananda rose from the seat and departed. Soon after they left, the householder Ananda Pindika passed away and reappeared in the Tusita heaven. Then one night was well advanced. Ananda Pindika, now a young god of beautiful appearance, lighting up the entire Jeta Grove. So he went back to his monastery, Jeta Grove, went up to the Buddha, bowed and stood to one side and addressed the Buddha in verse. Then the young god Ananda Pindika, thinking, the teacher has approved of me, paid homage to the Blessed One and keeping him on his right as usual, and he vanished at once. Then when the night had passed, the Buddha told the mendicants or the Buddhas, or the bhikkhus, all what had happened. Because the whole Jeta Grove was lighted up. So Venerable Ananda said, sir, that god must surely have been Ananda Pindika. For that householder Ananda Pindika was devoted to Venerable Sariputta. The Buddha said, good, good, Ananda. You have reached the logical conclusion. As far as logic goes, for that was indeed the god Anathapindata. So that was the end of Anathapindata. Most of the stories was related in this book, right, or otherwise in others. So with that, I would like to end our session today by just sharing this. Buddha sasanang cirang kita tu. Buddha sasanang cirang kita tu. Buddha sasanang cirang kita tu. May the Buddha dispensation endure long. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the stories. Sorry for the long winded. I've taken 30 minutes more. So if you have any questions, be happy. I'm able to try to answer that for you. Otherwise, it's just story based. Apparently, there's no exam questions for all this. Brother T, no exam question on Sivali.
No poll for today. No poll for today. Only next week.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying that for the exam questions, not much. I don't see any.
No, not from here.
Not from here. Okay. Not from here. So next week we will go Mahakachana, Chitta, Kisa Gotami, and Angulimala. Right. So I suppose all these are available in the textbooks. The great disciples of the Buddha. Right. But today I hope that the notes that I have presented, it's helpful, and also the slides.
Sister, isn't last 2022 there's a question, describe the virtues and actions of Anathapindata, which qualifies him as the chief male patron of the Sangha led by the Buddha.
Okay, you found that question? Oh, very good, very good.
Last year.
Oh, last year. Oh, hopefully you think that
Brother T, he sat for the exam. That's what is in last year's exam.
Oh, good.
Sorry. What question?
Anathapindata. There's one subjective question in part C last year.
Yes, last year got Anathapindata, I think so.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm like, oh, that's good, sister. Then, you think it will come up this year? Already came out last year.
Well,
but it's okay.
At least you got the answer.
Yeah. So you get a lot of answer from these slides, from all the information here.
Last year was the first time they asked lay disciple Anathapindata. All the time they asked only Arahan only. Those monks only, but that was the first time they asked the lay disciple.
Okay. So I think pretty much a straightforward question there. What are the virtues of, Anathapindata, right? Yeah. I think most of the lay disciples, they probably ask, similar question like the virtues, how they became, the virtues, he's a great patron. So from there onwards, you are able to describe, how, he actually, supported the Sangha community. Yeah. Okay.
Sister, the 2012, 2013, 2015, 2016, you have the qualities and virtues of Venerable Sivali. They have question.
Virtue of Sangha, that is a very popular question. They always ask one.
Sivali,
that one, yes.
Venerable
Yes.
Sivali, yeah.
Very popular. Virtue of Sangha, virtue of Buddha, virtue of Dharma, that one, or the quality of Dharma, that one is a very, very popular one.
No, what I'm saying is Venerable Sivali. We are talking about
Sivali, they haven't asked for quite some time already. That was
up to 2016. Then they stopped.
Sivali. They asked many years ago.
The last was in 2016.
Yeah.
Sivali.
Hopefully it don't come out.
Maybe Sivali. If they ask Sivali already for a long time, maybe Sivali. Sivali is straightforward now. Sivali pretty straightforward. You can find a lot of if they ask about his birth, his previous life, ordination, miracles, the miracles of Sivali, okay. So all this information you can use, okay. Then these are.
What is in the Jataka story of him? Is there one? Because the question asks, illustrate using a Jataka story what parami had he cultivated in his previous life.
I think I have the Jataka story for the Shivali. I think I have.
Every question is the same, repeated the same. 2012, 2013, 2015, 2016, the same question. What are the qualities and virtues of Venerable Sivali? Illustrate using a Jataka story what parami had he cultivated in his previous life. So same, exactly the same, the question.
Brother T, you say you have the Jataka story?
I have, talking about his past life. He was very generous, something like that. I've forgotten exactly, but I have.
Okay.
I have. I prepared for my exam last time.
Okay, good. Okay. Because I could not find any text from the the student note, but these are all the textual here. Dhammapada, they have one. Sivali. No, nothing mentioned in the slide of the Jataka. Sorry. Okay. So we try to find out and let you know on that, yeah?
Thank
The
you.
story of the story of Sivali while residing in this one here, versus this is in a Dhammapada. Right? Dhammapada 414. Dhammapada 414. Let me see,
I tried to
sometimes
find.
Yeah. 414.
I have the Shivali one.
Oh, you got it. Good.
I tried to find, see whether I can find or not. Wait.
Yeah. 414 is also it's about his previous life lah. 414. 414. This one. This one here. Okay, good. Good questions. Any other questions or any other maybe some of the objective questions they have, Okay, then Rahula. No question on Rahula so far. I think Rahula, I did my thesis paper on the Rahula. My thesis paper is basically on the teachings of the Buddha, right?
I check, see I can find it. I send to you lah.
Okay, send it to the group lah. Yeah, send it to the group. So Rahula, I think this pretty much importance here on the suttas.
The thing is that they are talking about my Jakarta is talking about the delay in giving birth.
That's all. But what sister says about not just the delay in the giving birth, the one you can also find in Dhammapada, right? In my slide was also about that was his previous life. But he's talking about. But sister, can you repeat again if you're there? Repeat again the question on the Jataka.
Yeah, that's why it says, illustrate using a Jataka story what parami had he cultivated in his previous life.
Generosity.
Abundance, right? Sivali is abundance.
Abundance, yeah. Okay, the miracles.
I remember of this, the question you asked. I remember this thing. I think I prepared something for that, but I've forgotten already. Let me check if I can find it, let you know.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Well, any question on Rahula?
So far, no question has come out on Rahula. I mean, up to 2012, I didn't check anything further back than that.
Yeah. I suppose a very popular question in other diploma, they ask about how the teaching of the Buddha, they often cited suttas like this sutta. Okay. And then Anathapindika, just now the virtues. Anathapindika. Oh, Jivaka, no, nothing on Jivaka. I think Jivaka not so popular. Jivaka not so popular, just for our interest now. Hopefully, Anathapindika.
Sivali one, actually, I don't have the Jataka story, the number I don't have. The past life was born as a poor man, had the opportunity to see the Buddha Padumuttara confer on the monk the honor of being foremost among the monks who obtain the requisite. Something like that. I think I have something here, but I don't have the Jakarta's number.
If you can refer to the notes that we have presented, you can get some of the information from there. Okay. So Anathapindika virtues also. It'd be good, not too sure whether they asked to cite some suttas. Right? These are all some suttas. Citing some suttas, you don't have to go through the entire sutta. I just give that, just a summary. What's it for? Right. This question was in, I think, diploma questions. They ask about, they used it not about Anathapindika, but they used these suttas for social dimension or economics. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so a lot of this. What else? Anything? Yeah. Okay, for those who have left, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sister. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
For
Thank
your
you.
preparation to
Thank you.
help us.
No, it's okay. I also enjoy. I hope you all are interested in that, right? Because putting the slide like this take a lot of time.
Yeah, yes, I can fully understand because I don't even know how to do it.
And pairing with pictures, try to get the pictures pairing.
Thank you for all the time
welcome.
and effort.
Well, you're welcome. It's also enriching myself as well. I'm also learning, through teaching, through not enriching, reinforcing, my, whatever I've studied, right? So this is how I contribute back. Hopefully.
Right.
Sadhu,
Thank you
sadhu,
so much.
Thank
Actually,
you.
sadhu, we learn a
Sadhu.
lot from the teaching. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So if there are any questions, if you like, please feel welcome to contact me, because next week it's already the 12th of August. It's very close to your exam already. So hopefully next week the other topics may not be so popular, because next week's topic I will send in advance. Mahakachana, right? Mahakachana, Chitta. This is under householder Chitta, not the Bhikkhu Chitta. Kesa Gautami and Angulimala.
Next Saturday election, is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, next Saturday is election. Yes.
So cannot postpone already. No, you postpone already very close to
exam.
next, the exam already. So do you want to set
Sunday,
another time? Huh? Sunday. Sunday, what day is that? Oh, next Sunday, sorry, Sunday cannot. I have a 1-day retreat by Bante Dr. Chandima at Buddhist Mahavihara. It's okay. It's okay. If everyone can do it on Sunday, no problem. I will cancel my retreat. I think it's important that they complete their studies.
Well, I think we still continue on Saturday. Worst scenario is we just watch the video.
Video. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The
Good.
teacher also
Good
go to the
idea.
election, ma.
Only
I mean, no need. I don't. I'm federal territory.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not.
No. I got no election, so I'm okay. Like what sister said, Sister Susie, I say that, I can also do pre-recording.
No, I mean, we can still attend. I'm also in Federal Territory, same thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So next Saturday, okay. And then next Saturday, if we can spend some time, going through some of the, any last minute pending questions or whatever, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Saturday, we can do that. Unless Saturday, you want to do it later.
It's fine. I mean, then you have to change the timing in the group. It's fine.
Yeah. Because Brother T,
if you're not changing, I don't know. I see whether my son can help me or not.
No, what we're saying is because of election, right? Some may go early, some may go late, but if you would like, we can have the Zoom class.
Some have to travel outstation, right? Those who go back to other states. So unless you may to.
For me, is a trouble because I got diploma in the morning also.
Oh, you got diploma. Oh, then it also affect your diploma. Then you also affect
the diploma will cancel also. I don't know.
At least your diploma is okay lah, because the exam is not too close. But this class MBE senior is coming to yeah.
You can change to other day lah. You can change to other day. Maybe weekday also can at night or whatever.
Weekday is okay for me, except for Friday lah.
Please remain the class at 2:30. That is a good time.
Okay.
For election, I'll go in between.
Okay lah. I think that's also another good suggestion.
I can go very quickly and come back very quickly because last time I went there half an hour. I came back already.
Okay. All right lah. So
because I'm over 60, so very fast one.
Priority lane. Okay, I think Sister Yvonne, good ideas, good suggestion, and Sister Susie also. Okay, we can maintain 2:30, and those who cannot make it, then they will look at they view the recording.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so because I also do not want to delay because and also change the date because exam is coming to very close.
On the other hand, are there those who have to go back outstation to vote? Maybe we just have to check on
then
that.
They have to go to the video recording lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least you got video recording, you got slides, you got notes, and also at least good thing that
text the teacher no problem one.
Yeah, because at least the next few they're not so I think not so popular question for exam, but more for knowledge or information. Yeah, I think for this syllabus, like you say earlier on, the virtues of the Sangha, Mahamoggallana, maybe Sariputta will come out. Okay, so these three very important. Which one? The other one is
Ananda,
Mahakassapa. So we got 5 already. Got 5 already. So I think if you talk about lay disciple Anathapindata, 6.
Another question is on Queen Maya, the Bhikkhuni Sangha.
Bhikkhuni Sangha and Bhikkhuni Sangha and Gotami almost link lah, so to speak. They link. Yeah.
That one almost every year has got a question. Last don't have.
The Bhikkhuni order, so about 7 already, 8 already. I think cukup lah.
Cover everything already.
Yeah, most of it got covered. So the next
if they change in syllabus, then we don't know.
Then we also don't know lah. I mean, we as from the admin side here also, we are not too sure what are the questions they've been asked. So hopefully they will ask, like you say lah. If you look at the question of Anathapindika, probably the question will ask quite similar. So, like, what are the qualities and virtues of so and so? That's for sure, right? Because this is all about the qualities and virtues.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yes, isn't it?
Prepare the 4 monk, and the quality of the sangha. These 5, you guarantee you will come out 1.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then all the objective
Feels like
questions.
the virtues of the Sangha almost every year is the one question.
Oh,
will
yeah.
come.
Very popular one.
Yeah.
That's the most popular. This one is we
Right, because
really
you
need
write in
to
point
understand.
form. Very
Yeah.
easy to write.
Okay.
So that is the main topic for this main syllabus for this part C, right? For the so we have to understand that. Yeah. Good.
Is it
All
very
right.
important to quote the sutta and also to write the Pali words?
No need. But to me, Sister Yvonne, if you can remember, okay to write now. You don't remember the number, you don't need to write the number, right? You just say as quoted in Majjhima Nikaya. If you know where is Majjhima Nikaya, right? It's very important. Like for example, if you listen to Dhamma talk, sometimes I listen to Dhamma talk, Bhante will say, Sudatta Sutta. I say, okay, Sudatta Sutta from where? If you just put Sudatta Sutta, very difficult to find unless you know. Sudatta means is a layperson. Oh, I can find it if you know very well how to find Sutta, right? So if you say Sudatta Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, okay, then you can streamline to it. So you don't have to worry about the number. Right? For us, like diploma or master, it's a bonus lah if we know the number. Bonus
Because it will take a lot of effort to remember.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You see, when you remember, last time when we study, we have to remember all, like here, for example, we have to remember this sutta, Gihi Samisi Sutta, a lay person, proper practice. So we have to know where is it from, Anggutta Nikaya. If we do not know what number, we just put AN, right? But in all our, we can't just put AN in bracket, but we can do that provided at the end of your paper, your answer paper, you have to do abbreviation, right? MN means Majjhima Nikaya, SN means Samyutta Nikaya, AN means Anggutta Nikaya. So because you're going to quote a lot of sutta, so you do not need to write, in full. You just put AN. You get me?
Okay, so for our level, we need to write
I think for the level, no need. When I do certification course also, I don't need to write the number. But if I can remember where is it from, like, for example, Ananda Sutta in tablets, easy ma. This is short. Ananda Sutta tablets, AN 4.62. I just put Ananda Sutta tablets in Anggutta Nikaya or in AN.
Okay,
Like that, or in bracket AN. But don't forget, you don't just put AN or whatever. At the end of your paper, right, the finish, you just put abbreviation. Put the word abbreviation, MN, just like any sutta, MN, Majjhima Nikaya, and so on, like that.
Okay, thank you.
Which shows that you give to the examiner to say that you are conscious about such things. Not everybody will know, hey, what is this abbreviation? What is AN stand for?
Yeah.
Although we are all Buddhists, we all should know lah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you.